22nd of May and it's snowing.
You're John. I'm Dave.
It's a nice and sunny day.
Muhammad Ali.
He's got a heart made of yellow barley straw.
My mother's mother bought the property in 1905, and it was an acreage, and she had, well, tents there to begin with, tent floors. They took a milk cow down behind a wagon when they started out, when Sophie, my grandmother, started out going to the cottage. My grandfather never went except on weekends. He went for meals because he was a gentleman farmer, and the men stayed in town. The cottage was a woman's place, and the children. And then they built the cottage that was the style of those days, where you have the house part in the middle and then the veranda all the way around, and you sleep in the veranda. That little house part in the middle was only for really violent storms. And she came out there until she was a very elderly lady. But my mom and dad bought more than half of the property, and eventually they tore the old cottage down and built what I still call the new cottage. But it was built in 1943. I went there every year of my childhood. It really and truly was a woman's place, and there all along the beach there were women and their children there, and yeah, cows were always in the picture out there because of the cow that they took with them for milk in the earliest days. It was in the 50s. And we had a milkman that came around from the other side of the lake. He did two sides of the lake. And he had a truck that had a horn that sounded moo, 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 and you could hear it from way across the lake that he was starting around. And it was just great because you could get up to the road with your milk bottles, all clean, and your money to pay for the milk. So it was a good system. That was fun.
Mother's a school teacher, so she had the full 2 months of July and August free, but we started coming down on the weekends in June. But we didn't have a car, and there wasn't a bus going through at the time, so we used to come down on the train, which was really, really nice. And I remember when we came down for good, there would be just boxes and suitcases and so on, which would go on the train. And then we'd get into the Fort Capel station, and off all that stuff would go onto the platform. And then there was a taxi, one taxi in town. We waited for him, and he would bring us out here, and we'd be here for the summer. We didn't have electricity to begin with, and we didn't have running water, so there was a big rain barrel and, coal oil lamps, and it was nice. And the cottage didn't look this way. It was that Mum built on bit by bit as she could afford to. And so, we had an outdoor biffy and a little screen porch kind of place where there was a basin and an ewer and a little towel hanging on a rack beneath it on the table. And Mum gradually brought the cottage round, and I'm so in awe of her, what she could manage to do. She taught at Balfour Tech, and so her colleagues would come out. I don't know, they all piled into this one cottage, and they would help build a fireplace, or they would help do this or that, and it just it went up through friendship. had no idea that this project could be so much fun. The interesting thing about this is that the more you talk about it, the more people sort of get themselves engaged in it. Jim Muirhead is a contractor, and he and his wife live nearby. Again, friends from childhood. And what's been nice about that is that I've got to know Jim again. I only knew him as a little child with his brother. He was, I remember him as being 5 years old, and when we girls came out on the pier, he and his brother would be fishing on the next pier, would run inside their cottage, girls, you know. So he said, oh, if you're going to paint these, you ought to stack them so that you can save on paint. And that was a brilliant, brilliant idea, because I did it 3 and 3 and flipped them, and it went really, really quickly. And I was so surprised, because when they were lying there on the blue tarps, they looked like lace. They looked like some kind of wedding cake. After they were all painted white. It was really quite astonishing. People started coming round to see them. And then people have heard about this and started to come. So I think maybe if it keeps up, I'll set up a lemonade stand or something.
My mom would load up. She had about a '53 Austin.
My wife
Little
had
wee
one of
car.
those. When I met
Wee
my wife,
English
she was
car.
driving one of those.
And she'd pile, because the old man had to work, and she'd pile 3 kids and bedding and
For
food and the whole works. She'd jam us all in there and
Gravel road.
head west. And once you passed Moose Jaw,
Gravel.
she was paved all the way to Moose Jaw, and then gravel from Moose Jaw the rest of the way.
Yeah.
It was an all-day trip, and we'd go out and we'd spend the whole summer in the log cabin out in the Cypress Hills.
All the cottages were like that.
Yeah, well, I stayed there all summer. Old Lady McCarthy, the railway came to the fort in 1912, and she built a cottage at Beseda about 1909. And she told me, this old lady told me, that she would take the train to Capel,
Mm-hmm.
and then she would hire a wagon, and they'd bring her to the cottage, and she'd tell them, you know, what day a month later she wanted to go back. Had to be in Capel at whatever time to catch the train back through town. Now that's a cottage.
I went for the summer. I went the last week of June and didn't come back till Labor Day with the children and the dog and whatever cat, whatever other assorted pets we had. Because we took, finally, at one point, 4 children, a dog, and all the groceries, all the staples, out to the cottage. And we managed to do it. And then Frank brought groceries on weekend, but we didn't have a phone, so we couldn't phone and tell him what we needed. Well, we took flour and sugar, and like you did, there wasn't fast food, and there wasn't instant cake mixes and things like that. So you baked from scratch. And when somebody came to visit us from Indian Head, which was my mother's hometown, they brought baking. They brought a treat, maybe a cake or angel food cake. Homemade angel food cake was really a good treat.
I'm Ann Davis, and you're in my living room today. We used to go swimming up at a little dugout we had there. We always went down one Sunday to Katepwa with a big picnic lunch. Us and the Lindsays, we used to all go down together and go swimming on the sand at Katepwa. It was always a special day. You had to get home by about 5 o'clock to milk the cows, so you went right after the morning chores were done. Mostly sandwiches or buns and things, yes. It was just that it was an easy day, picnic day, yeah. That's it for this time. We'll see you later.
Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Dave.
We're the hardware guys.
During the summer, I remember always going to vacation Bible school. And from there was kind of a Boy Scout deal that we went camping.
I went to a Bible camp or a church camp, based where you had mess hall and cabins where 8 slept to a cabin, and it was a good time in terms of songs remembered. I remember singing songs, but if
row your boat, John.
No, it was like I don't know what we sang.
99 bottles of beer.
I don't know if that was one of them or not, but I.
Oh, I'm taking my sons out to the beach and having a wonderful time. Yes. Oh, they love swimming, especially on a hot day like this. Oh, peace out. Peace out, girl.
It was a renewal summer, and I think it's where you had time to meet other boys that were down there from someplace like Edmonton maybe, or staying with grandparents. And I think I learned a lot about growing up and about, I think, about the other sex a bit too, and a lot of how to flirt. And what boys were like, because like the one time they did a dirty trick on us once. They tied all our clothes together they sneaked down the beach and tied all our clothes together while we were skinny dipping, so that we couldn't get them on fast when we came out. And we decided to do it back to them when we heard they were going down there. But you know what? We tied the clothes together and waited under the park bench until they dove off the raft to swim into shore, just chuckling away like mad. And we jumped up from the benches then and ran with the clothes, and they just kept coming naked. I mean, like girls wouldn't have done that. We would have hidden ourselves, turned around or something, but no. The boys just kept coming right at us, and we ran. So...
Why? Who said that?
That's not the garage sale rules. That if you have it at 10, you go at 8. That's the rule. Huh?
A set of golf clubs here. I don't know whether they'd improve my game or not. It could certainly use some improvement. The dog isn't for sale.
Silly.
No, I'm not selling my dog. I love my dog most days. So.
That's what we need today is a heater.
What's your favorite?
Do I have to go to Elmer's to pick the coffee up?
I think you have to go to Tim Hortons to pick the coffee
Oh,
up.
oh, that one.
Yeah.
I want some coffee in it now.
Right now. Thank you.
I'm going to have to go to Elmer's.
Patience. What the prairie has plenty of is patience. Droughts come, wind, fire, she don't care. Hoppers, frost, hail, that's all fine by her. People come and go, taxes, freight rates, yield, and parity. She shrugs off that chaff. The prairie pays politics and religion never mind. Hugs herself with short grass, tall grass, sweet grass, all the same to her. Lifts her head into any kind of weather, shivers her spine against the senseless drift. Sun and moon, seasons roll through the years with their own peculiar rhythm. Road allowances a dead end. Sloughs buckle, hawks reclaim fence posts, the opening and closing of a fist, a slow, deliberate breathing.
Ooh, nice and sunny out today.